Hello again everyone. So today I want to talk about exactly why they're putting these chemicals in the water supply. Now this one fact alone should get your mind ticking over. It should raise an eyebrow. It should make anyone that was previously unsuspicious suspicious. This is well documented. Again, like I said earlier, go out and research this on your own behalf because the information is out there. Okay, so Germans and Russians used to put fluoride in the water supply of their prisoners. Why? Well, they did it to keep them docile, to keep them stupid, to keep them complacent, to keep them subservient. This is well documented fact. So, isn't it highly suspicious that governments that are quite clearly trying to enforce some sort of dictatorship, some sort of totalitarian empire, some sort of Orwellian state, are putting that exact same thing in our water supply? Doesn't that reek of suspicion? It does, obviously, to anyone with a sound, rational thinking mind. And for anyone that hears that fact and still thinks that nothing about this is suspicious, God, well, I really don't know what else to say. Well, that's not entirely true. I do. I've got some other things. Okay, so consider this. The Netherlands went through a lawsuit a while back to ban the fluoride in their water. They succeeded. And they are currently considered to be one of the healthiest countries in the world. One of the countries with the top well-being. And they haven't got fluoride in their water. Coincidence? Maybe. But when you also consider that one of the unhealthiest countries in the world is the USA, and that the USA is also one of the top countries in the world to put fluoride in their water supply, suspicion once again begins to boil. In fact, it's quite clear what's going on here, to me at least, and to many others. The government are trying to suppress us. The government are trying to hold us down. The government are trying to dumb us down, to keep us complacent and subservient, just like the Russians and Germans did with their prisoners. And this is a vicious circle going on here, because you know, they put this stuff in the water supply, they make you ill, they make you rely on prescription drugs, then they put more stuff in the prescription drugs that dumb you down again. It's a vicious circle. It goes on and it goes on and it goes on. And, you know, when you look around the USA, however much it pains me to say it because I love this place, the proof really is in the pudding. Also, going on the latest developments that they're putting new drugs in the water supply that will mix with chlorine in a way to create cancer-producing compounds, then this also makes me suspicious that they are trying to depopulate us in some sort of way. This has been talked about for years amongst many people. But doesn't this seem like one of the steps towards getting to that goal of depopulation? The powers that be realise that, whoa, this is getting out of hand. There's so many of us and there's so few of them. If we do decide to rebel, like Egypt are doing now, they are going down so badly. There's no chance for them, regardless of the army and the police state they've got backing them. We will take them down if need be, but I would much rather a peaceful resolution to all of this. I would much rather the powers that be just see that there's no chance of them pulling this off now. The awakening is snowballing far too much. This is out of their hands. And hopefully once they realise this, they'll just back down, like hopefully the Egyptian president will do as well. He can quite clearly see that his time is over. But all I hope that they don't do is they just replace one puppet with another, which is obviously quite a likelihood. The people need to take back this world. And that's what we're doing now. And that's what I'm trying to help with these videos. I'm trying to wake people up, you know. And for so long I've tried to avoid waking people up because I just think, oh, well, it's not my duty, you know. I've woken myself up and then others can wake themselves up. But no, I've had enough. I've been sitting on this information for years now. I went to my first David Icke conference when I was 12. I've been researching this with my dad for years and years and years. I've been absolutely engrossed with what these powers that be are doing to us. I found it oddly fascinating, I must admit, that these powers that be are trying to suppress their fellow brethren. It's quite bizarre. It's quite a spectacle. Not one that I've relished watching, but one that I've relished rebelling against. You know, I've relished the fact that I'm seeing through this bullshit and that I can't be fooled. I look around and I see everyone else in their slumber. And not that it makes me happy, but I think, well, at least I'm okay, and at least a lot of my friends online are okay. You know, there's a lot of us out there now that are wide awake, and we ain't taking this shit. And we haven't been for quite some time. And I believe on a deeper, more spiritual level, the powers that be are dancing this dance with us for a reason. We all agreed to this. We all agreed to play this game. And they're playing their role oh so very well. And I'm going to play my role oh so very well. So yeah, on one level, you know, I recognise that this is all just a game. You know? This is like the greatest RPG ever created. But I can't think on that level all the time, because it ruins the immersion factor. Like when you're playing an RPG on the computer, you don't want to keep on breaking yourself away from it and reminding yourself that you're playing a character, do you? It ruins the immersion factor. The same applies here. I know that we're playing a game, but I'm going to immerse myself in the character, and I'm going to enjoy improving myself, spreading this information, rebelling against the powers that be. I'm going to enjoy playing this character, because when I signed up for this game, I chose to work for the light. I chose to work for the good guys. Although that is a very subjective term, obviously. But I want everyone to realise that I do see past this illusion. I do realise that it is nothing but. But that doesn't mean I don't want to play the game still. That doesn't mean I don't want to put my foot down and end this rubbish. I really do. And a lot of us do. And a lot of us are putting our foot down. And a lot of us are bringing an end to all this rubbish. Okay, so immersing myself back in the game now. Let's consider some other reasons as to why the government are putting fluoride in the water supply. Well, there's a lot of information out there that suggests they're doing this to calcify our pineal glands. For anyone that's unaware of what a pineal gland is, I suggest you read a great book by Rick Strassman called DMT, the Spirit Molecule. There's lots of other books out there on the same thing, but that's the one that really woke me up to the subject, at least. Now, the pineal gland is a pea-shaped part of our brain that's located directly in the centre of it. It's basically our true eye. It's basically our mind's eye. It's what allows us to see clearly. It's what allows us to peer into the other realms and the other dimensions. It's what allows us to connect with our higher selves and the like. In other words, the pineal gland is what connects us to the higher realms of reality. And so it's no wonder that the government wants to shut that part of us down. They just want us using these eyes. Because whilst we use these eyes, they can manipulate us and control us. Because they're the puppeteers. They are in control of what we see, on the whole. But if we stop just using these eyes solely and use all of our eyes in conjunction with one another, then we begin to open ourselves up to the infinite possibilities of reality. We start piercing the veil. We start seeing through the illusion. We start having a lot more fun. Okay, and that's the bottom line of all of this. Shouldn't reality be fun? And yes, this has been fun up to a certain point. We have enjoyed being suppressed on a subconscious level, I think. It's been part of the game. But this ain't fun no more. I think we've all had enough of this game, right? There's only so much you can play of each game. You start playing Monopoly and yeah, it's fun for the first few hours and you're really enjoying it. In fact, you might even highly recommend it to people. But as the hours go on and on and on, you usually get pretty bored of that game. And you get to the point where you actually think, I don't want to play this no more. I want to move on to the next game. And currently the powers that be are trying to stop us changing the game. But it just ain't going to work. We have the control. And deep down they know that as well. And deep down I'm sure they'll all join us in the next game. Within, the next few thousand years or whatever. Another thing I want to quickly touch on is how a lot of people comment and say, well, the chemicals in the water supply are at a safe level. They're at a level that isn't dangerous for our consumption. Okay, this is true to a certain extent, but what you must take into consideration is the cumulative effect. Because these chemicals aren't just in our water. They're in our food. They're in our toothpastes. They're in our chewing gums. They're in the chemtrails that streak across the sky. They're everywhere. One of those things, just one of those things on its own, yeah, it'd probably be alright. You probably wouldn't be being poisoned. But there isn't just one thing going on here. This is one piece of a very, very large puzzle. Another thing to keep in mind is that bottled water can potentially be just as bad, if not worse, than tap water. The bottled water companies have to adhere to even less rules than the companies that run the water supply that's coming through our taps. In fact, some bottled water companies just use tap water, which, I mean, that is completely scandalous that they can even get away with doing that. These companies are making money from just getting a plastic bottle and filling up from the tap. That is the epitome of the word scandalous. I mean, I can't believe these companies are getting away with it. But if you're going to use bottled water, if you insist on that, be extremely vigilant in finding out the ethics of the company that you're using, find out exactly what they're putting in it, because there can be fluoride in bottled water as well. However, generally speaking, I would recommend not using bottled water because it only adds to the waste of the world. Okay, so before I go today, I'd like to address a comment that was made by one of my friend's girlfriends. She said that I should be more grateful for the fact that I've got access to water, drugged or not. That there's some kids out there in the world that have access to none at all. And this is true. And I am sorry for this, I am sorry that there are kids out there that don't have access to water or have access to very, very unpure water. I am sorry for that. And I am grateful that I do have access to water. It is our life source. And regardless of what is in it, I am grateful that I have access to something as beautiful and pure as water. However, the logic you're applying here is faulty in my opinion. You're basically implying that just because there are other kids out there in the world that are suffering, I should suffer too. It's an eye for an eye mentality. And as Gandhi said, an eye for an eye will make the whole world blind. Okay, so in the next video, I'm going to be talking about how to filter your water effectively. So stay tuned. Bye for now. Namaste.